Welcome back. So this morning, key leaders in the tech world, including Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, will attend a highly anticipated artificial intelligence closed-door event. It's moderated by bipartisan Senators Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds, and the goal is to help lawmakers understand the industry before they try to create guardrails for AI and regulate it. One of the attendees, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, spoke recently to our Fareed Zakaria about this technology ending up in the wrong hands.
What happens if it can build a pathogen and it ends up in the hands of an Osama bin Laden type of person, and that pathogen can kill 1 million people? So you say, no problem, we'll put what are called guardrails or alignment on that. We'll prevent it from being misused. If you give me all the weights that is open source and I'm evil, which hopefully I'm not, I can strip those constraints out and return it back to its bad news.
Joining us now, one of the moderators of this AI forum today, Republican Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota. Senator, good morning. I'm so glad you're with us. Are you as worried as Eric Schmidt is?
Eric Schmidt brings up some very important points. These are the downsides to AI, but recognizing them doesn't stop them. We've got to recognize it and we've got to be able to deal with it. It's both the upside and the downside of AI that we want to learn more about. And we felt that in a bipartisan way, a group of 4 of us, including Senator Schumer, Senator Heinrich, and Senator Young, we wanted to bring this together and say, look, Republicans and Democrats alike, this isn't going to go away. We needed to do this, and it's better if we do it in a bipartisan fashion. Let's go to work and let's learn about all the different aspects of it as much as we can, and bring the Senate together, and then let's find a path forward.
You talk about upsides. For you, those upsides are very personal.
They are. Look, 2 parts. First of all, I'm on the Armed Services Committee, and I always want our armed services to have the best of everything, including the AI. But on another note, and this is the one that I think a lot of people in America will see the benefits of personally, and that is when it comes to fighting cancers, fighting long-term illnesses and so forth. I think AI has real opportunities, and this is the part that we shouldn't forget about. I lost my wife not quite 2 years ago. And she died of cancer after a long illness. And during that time, we saw some real bright things in terms of some of the developments and capabilities that medicine has. But AI is going to play a part in that. I believe that we really can. I think we can cure cancer. But it means being able to look at lots of different alternatives, lots of different chemical cocktails, as they would say. And AI can do that a lot quicker, but it's never going to take a doctor out. It's going to give a doctor more tools. And I want to see that happen as quickly as possible.
You know, you talk about how important it is for Americans to see and understand these things, but you've chosen to hold this behind closed doors. You've got critics, Democratic senators and Republican senators who don't like that. Elizabeth Warren said these tech billionaires want to lobby Congress behind closed doors with no questions asked. That is plain wrong. And here's what Republican Senator Josh Hawley thinks.
I think it's ridiculous that it's closed press. I think it's ridiculous that all these monopolists are all here to tell senators how to shape the regulatory framework so they can make the maximum amount of money.
Why not do this in public?
Well, let me first clarify that it's not just the tech giants. It's also, we've got teachers union representatives, we've got AFL-CIO represented, we've got the Screenwriters Guild represented. So we've tried to make it as broad as possible to get as many different opinions as possible. But for members of the Senate to be able to hear from these people firsthand, if we put it on live TV, first of all, someone probably would simply sit in their offices and watch it. We want them together in the room with these people. And we want the individuals who are sharing this to share it directly with members of the United States Senate and to be very candid with us. And we thought we had a better chance at actually getting them to be able to share that if they weren't simply doing prepared statements prepared by them and their attorneys for national distribution.
Should it be concerning that it sounds like you're saying you don't think that those tech leaders would be candid with the public, the American people who ultimately this affects?
We watch individuals in front of cameras every single day, in front of every single committee. And the beginning of it is always a prepared statement, and it's one that's been very carefully crafted. We don't have enough time to go through very carefully crafted opening statements. We're trying to get right to the heart of it, and we're going to do this with 100 members of the United States Senate available for us. And we wanted them to see personally, and we wanted them to feel that it was being personally shared with them. And we wanted to respect the fact that these other tech specialists and the folks that are working with them on the union side, that they could really level and lay this out in front and to do it in a more informal way. as informal as you can get with 100 members of the Senate and 100 members of their staff, and with the logistics of that particular room to try to bring in cameras and everything else. We can do that with later and more info opportunities that we're going to have. But this one, we wanted to start out with having it be face-to-face.
We'll watch to see if there is a public one to follow. I do want to move to a very critical topic, and that is child poverty in America. We learned from data released yesterday that child poverty in America has doubled in the last year. From the year before to last year, it went from 5.2%, almost a record low, to 12.4% last year. This is largely because Congress did not renew that enhancement to the child tax credit that we had during COVID. The president is pointing direct blame at congressional Republicans who didn't support that. Looking at your state of South Dakota, of America's 15 counties with the highest rate of child poverty between 2017 and 2021, 6 of them are in South Dakota. Do you believe there needs to be congressional action toward reauthorizing that made such a difference for child poverty in America? Would you support it, Senator?
I think there's 2 parts to this, and I think we have to look at both. First of all, it is true that we went from below the poverty level, or above the poverty level, to below the poverty level. And part of it is simply because there's more cash available through government programs and through tax relief. But there's another piece of this, and it's the part that we haven't really talked about. And if we're going to talk about the income, we also have to talk about the expenses as well, which is even a bigger part. And I know that it sounds like we're talking about inflation-adjusted income coming in, but we're not talking about the impact on a household basis of what inflation has done in the last 2 years. And we're looking at a 16% increase. In South Dakota, it means the average household is paying over $917 more per month just in living expenses. Now, if you want to combine that with the fact that income is down, you see the reason why so many of these families are simply saying Bidenomics is not working.
But are you saying, I hear you, Senator,
both.
I hear you on inflation, but are you saying that enhanced tax credit didn't matter for children? Because it was enacted before we had inflation at these levels. And the overall poverty rate went up, but I'm talking about our kids who don't have any say in this policy.
No, what I'm saying is it's a combination of both, and that the poverty level, it went from above the poverty level to below the poverty level, but the impact is even greater when you add in, for these families, when you add in the fact that inflation has driven up the costs for them on a household by household basis over $900 a month, and that even the income going up at 2 or 3% can't keep up with the increases in cost. Right. So it's a double whammy is what I'm saying. Okay. So it's really a bigger issue, and it's the reason why when we talk about Bidenomics and when we're asked about it, the American public is simply saying it's not working. And it's part of it may very well be the fact that you don't have tax credits, but inflation has really driven this up a huge amount as well. 2
things can be true at the same time, and this data shows us we saw a very direct correlation between a policy enacted in Washington and how kids are surviving and getting by in America. So I hope more attention is focused on it, Senator.
But you got to look at both.
I didn't say
this is policy-induced inflation as well. You got to talk about both.
I didn't say you don't. Final question for you. Okay. The House is launching these impeachment inquiries. I know you're not in the House, but I wonder if you agree with Republican presidential candidate, former Governor Asa Hutchinson, who told Wolf Blitzer yesterday he thinks that's premature.
Here's what we were aware that Speaker McCarthy was looking at the possibility of doing an inquiry. I think he's trying to move his entire team forward. He recognizes that the appropriations process is probably the most important part of this, and he wants them to be on board with it. In the Senate, we're observing what they're doing, but the House is going to do what the House is going to do. It's their job to get their appropriations out, and however Kevin can do that to move things over, that's what we're watching. In the meantime, we've already started on the appropriations process in the United States Senate. Our appropriations committee has sent all of the bills out. They're ready. They're on the floor. We're starting today, as a matter of fact. And hopefully the House will be able to send us more. And perhaps that's part of the plan that Speaker McCarthy has to keep his team together.
Okay. Well, keeping the team together matters a lot. Senator Rounds, I appreciate your time on this. Look forward to hearing what comes out of today's summit. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You got it.